Okay, so part B asks us to implement the blink class, and it says that a blink instance represents a linked list of numbers and can find the longest sublist starting with any particular value in constant time. A blink instance B is constructed from a linked list S and has the following attributes. So it appears to be 1, 2, 3 attributes, and it has a b.link, which is basically self.link. Which is S, the linked list from which B was constructed. It has a .rest attribute, which is a blink instance representing the rest of S. And it has a sublist attribute, which is a dictionary with a key for each unique element of S, and the value of the key is the link instance representing the longest sublist. Okay, so for this problem, it seems like if we're just implementing the class, we need to basically, we're filling out the initialization method, the init, and in order to have the init do what it's supposed to do, we basically just need to populate these three attributes, right? So we need to define what b.link is going to be, what b.rest is going to be, and what b.sublist is going to be. So then with that knowledge, let's move on to looking at our skeleton code. So we have 4 lines here. It seems like this is going to satisfy, or this is going to fill out our self.rest, this is going to fill out our self.sublist, this is going to fill out our self.link, and this is going to be some mystery, right? We're going to figure out what that should like edit, yes. Okay, well, let's start with figuring out what self.link should be. Well, it said from the instructions that self.link is just S, the linked list from which B was constructed. And since we pass in S in our init function, you can see we have S as an argument, or a parameter in this case. That means self.link should just be S, right? That's what we were told to do. We should have b.link be S, the linked list from which B was constructed. Cool. I think the second easiest thing to do here would be figuring out what self.rest is. So going back to our instructions, b.rest is a blink representing the rest of S. So s.rest is the rest of S, but we want it to be a blink instance representing that. So we would have to make this a blink. Oh shoot, sorry, blink. Cool. So that's going to create a new blink instance created using s.rest, which is exactly what we want. Cool, so now we just have these 2 blinks to worry about. And let's look at what the difference is. So one of them is inside our if case where s is not linked.empty, and one of them is inside our else case, meaning where s is linked.empty. So I guess one way you could see it is that since we've already defined self.rest and self.link, you know that these 2 lines should probably correspond to self.sublists. But another way to see it is because it says that b.sublist is a dictionary with a key for each unique element in S. That means if there are no unique elements in S, if S is linked.empty, then b.sublist should be empty, right? It should be an empty dictionary. So that means if you go here, where in the else case, that's saying that S is not linked.empty, or sorry, S is linked.empty, which means that the sublist should be an empty dictionary because there are no keys essentially. So that's what self.sublist should be if there are no, or if S is linked.empty. Okay, so now let's take a look at the case where S is not linked.empty. Well, in that case, as it said before, b.sublist is a dictionary with a key for each unique element of S, where the value is the link instance representing the longest sublist of S, starting with k. So let's see what sublist is so far. Well, if we are in the case where S is not linked.empty, we actually have this given line to us, and they told us that this line copies the sublist dictionary of self.rest into a new dictionary. So here we've included all of the different key value pairs starting with self.rest. And what's the difference between all the sublists of self.rest and self? Well, it should just be the first element of self. So for example, if blink comes from a S that is equal to, let's do like a linked list that contains 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are all elements in a linked list. Well, blink of s dot rest is going to contain these three sublists, right? It's going to contain the sublist, the longest sublist starting at 2, the longest sublist starting at 3, and the longest sublist starting at 4. Now the thing it's missing is the longest sublist starting at 1, because that's s, but we're only including starting from s dot rest, which starts at 2 instead of 1. So that's why for this line, all we have to essentially fill in is the sublist key value pair that starts at s dot first, because that's the only one that we haven't already included inside self.sublists, self.rest.sublists. Okay, so how do we add this new additional sublist? We're going to do self.sublists. This is just the kind of syntax in order to insert a new element into a dictionary. So we're going to insert the key, which is going to be the starting value, which is s dot first. And then this is the value should be equal to the longest sublist of s starting with k. Well, the longest sublist of a linked list starting at its first element is just going to be the linked list. So this should just be equal to s. Cool. So now, just as a quick sanity check, let's make sure that all of the blanks that we filled in are actually options. So I'll just copy this over. Whoops. Okay. Copy this over as well. And then we said that blank C should be an empty dictionary, which good, we have an option for that here. And blank 4 should be just S, which we have the option for right here. And yeah, that's problem 1b.